Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you might happen to be, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about nerd news that has happened over the past week since our last show, last Tuesday. And we tell you what we think about it and what we're looking forward to about it or not, or basically give you our opinions. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer. What was that again, Crash? A burly underscore adopter on Twitter as a tech journalist, or among other things. And joining me tonight, since he just turned his mic back on, we're going to start with, let's see, all of these bearded, bald people. Who do we pick? We're going to go with Lewis. Introduce yourself if you would.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your Twitter again? Because my microphone was muted as you called it out, so I couldn't hear anything.
Let's see. It
'Cause that's
was
how it functions.
it was deaf bald guy 27
Old man
Good.
underscore shakes fist at clouds.
at clouds. You can't use the cloud at symbol, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get sued for the cloud thing. Anyways, it's always great to be back with my colleagues. I enjoy having wonderful conversations with them. For those of you who haven't seen me in a while, it's Louis Carrera. Also, Crash the Stampede on Twitch. If you want to come check out some streaming with me, I do stream with some other people offhand every once in a while when I have a little free time. Hopefully, I'll have free time soon. But otherwise, I'm a co-producer with Nerd Caliber. I do a lot of videos. We have a Kineticon video coming up fairly soon. My gallery for Kineticon has been put up as well. It was a mostly informal gallery, but I still love the photos that I took. So go check it out. Go check out our Nerd Caliber page. And I'm looking forward to the comments and topics that we have tonight. If you have anything to join in on, just chime in right in our chat and let us know what you think.
Exactly. And for those people who have been patiently waiting for the Kineticon stuff, there's been like personal moves and office moves and like every move you can think of moves in between Kineticon and now, but they are in the process of getting up there. So thank you for your patience. And also joining me tonight, rounding out the three caballeros of bearddom and balddom, Greg, if you would.
Hi, everybody. Greg Snyder, assistant editor here at Nerd Caliber. Did I get that right this time? Assistant
You did.
Editor?
You did.
Wow, look at that. It's 5 years. I finally remember my my title here.
Same.
Yeah, lovely to see everybody out there tonight. Hope we get some good comments in there. We got a lot of cool topics going on. If you are heading down to New York Comic Con this weekend, be sure to stop in on Friday, 2 o'clock, up on the top floor, the Cosplay Central area. We will be doing our cosplay and photography shootout once again. It was fairly epic there last year. We had a lot of great teams, or 2 years ago, I should say.
Yeah.
Great teams, great photos, incredible, just collaborative creativity. It's a ton of fun. We got some passes for prizes if your photo gets the nod. So if you're heading down, be sure to check it out. And if you're around on Saturday, I will be out in the photographer's alley all day. Come get, take some photographs, eh?
Snap, snap, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. All right, folks, we will get started right in here with the news. And our first topic is, that is, of course, Chadwick Boseman. The news is that in addition to the announcement that Howard University made back in May, I believe it was, that their newly relaunched College of Fine Arts is going to be the Chadwick Boseman College of Fine Arts. Just this past week, Netflix announced that it is going to be establishing a $5.4 million scholarship for students in the College of Fine Arts to be named the Chadwick Boseman Scholarship. There are apparently already 4 people that have been chosen for it. They picked one person out of each one of the 4 years of college. But going forward, it will go to a single incoming freshman, which will stretch out that 5.4 million endowment quite a ways. So good on Netflix. That's their Ted Sarandon, their co-CEO, was talking about Boseman's importance to the platform with things like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom most recently, and other products. So good on them. They get a Very strong golf clap.
Absolutely.
Snaps
Very,
up.
very wonderful, wonderful applaud. And if you have any question as to the caliber of his performance, watch just about anything that Chadwick Boseman has been in, but also like the Five Bloods, where he was on the cusp of death and still managed to pull a freaking stellar performance.
Yep. Yeah. Or even just, his voice work in What If. There's no way you would tell that was not, Chadwick Boseman of Black Panther, period. Check out his work in, I can't think of the name of the title of the movie right now, but where he's James Brown. Get On Up is the title of the movie. It's absolutely just chilling. Wonderful. Capturing all of the good and the very bad aspects of James Brown's personality. So.
Yeah. He was a polarizing artist, to say the least.
James Brown, not Chadwick Boseman so much.
Not Chadwick Boseman, James Brown.
Yeah. So yeah, good on you, Netflix. Keep it up. Keep doing this sort of stuff. We'd like to see it. And our next topic is, speaking of Netflix, we're going to keep on the Netflix train here. That is, of course, everybody on the planet instantly recognized that's a scene from Squid Game. The news is not the fact that Squid Game is apparently the largest foreign language series in the history of Netflix, as far as number of viewers and so on. But the news is kind of related to that, because it's apparently caused Netflix to get sued by one of the broadband providers in South Korea, saying that Netflix isn't basically paying enough for the kind of traffic that they're pushing across their pipes. This is apparently related to, and I've read the article, I don't know that I would be qualified at all to comment on it, so I'll just say apparently related to certain laws about foreign streaming traffic going through South Korea, and whether or not Netflix is paying their share. Apparently Netflix is already in suits trying to change some of those regulations. But this SK, I'm going to mess it up. SK something broadband is come on, right at the top of the article here. Just SK broadband. Okay. Which I'm assuming is for South Korea. They are certainly not waiting for any resolution of whatever Netflix is trying to influence. They're going right after it in the courts, saying, "Pony up." So,
it's amusing to sit back and chuckle over that. I mean, excuse me, a lot of us, especially here on the East Coast, are fortunate to have really good, or at least mostly good at, access to the high-speed internet. Not everyone everywhere has that. I work in I work in that industry, so I'm well familiar with it. Rodney has as well. Obviously not going to talk details about that, but suffice to say that between Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Disney, the streaming services now take the vast majority of internet traffic, taken all together. And a lot of places, they do have to pay carriage rights. I mean, it's like paying a toll to deliver your, truckload full of, Walmart stuff, if you're taking it on the highway. I think the real news here is that Netflix is trying to say, we're too big, we don't feel like paying. And frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if they just ground this little, this Korean ISP into the ground.
Yeah, from what I gather, they're not a little Korean ISP.
True, I misspoke.
Yeah, they are, I think, the dominant broadband provider in South Korea. So, they may very well have more influence in the Korean courts than, Netflix would. Netflix has the pockets, there's no question about that, to, put up with a protracted legal fight. But as we'll see in some upcoming stories, protracted legal fights may not necessarily be the thing that any side wants.
Rarely
One
is.
one company eating another company, I'm here for it.
This is true. As long as the company doing the eating isn't SK Broadband, because that would have no benefit to me, because I'm not in South Korea. So,
It'll have benefit to the people who are of South Korea.
well, that is true. That is probably true.
Sometimes you got to think beyond your borders, old man.
I'm all for sharing the broadband and the wealth, except, the average broadband in South Korea is insanely faster than here already. It makes it hard for me to want to push for
I don't
them.
know, man. I don't want to kick somebody down just because they got a little more than me.
Well, that's true. Good point. Good point. All right. And folks, again, this has nothing to do with Squid Game or its insane popularity, but boy, is it insanely popular. Moving on, we have our first date announcement of this particular show. That is the end credit thing for the end of the last, or from the end of the last season of Mandalorian, that sets up the Book of Boba Fett, where they announced that it was in fact going to happen in December of 2021, but we now know that it is in fact going to be December 29th is when this drops on Disney Plus.
Yay.
And yay. All the yay. I'm really looking forward to this. They have rarely made mistakes. I mean, promising the Lone Rangers of the Galaxy, or whatever the heck the name of that series is supposed to be, was one of the mistakes they made. But they've rarely made mistakes with the Star Wars franchise, and I'm here for it.
I mean, just from the stills that I've seen, it looks pretty cool. It's got the look and feel down. Like give whatever else you want to say about how Disney and Lucas, their Lucasfilm arm micromanages everything. They are nailing a consistent look and feel across their properties. That you can literally call it the Star Wars universe.
Up to a point.
If you not 100%.
If you haven't seen Star Wars Visions, folks, go watch it.
Right. I mean, that's fair. I'm thinking more of the live action stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Can we mention the person who was involved with?
Absolutely. If you want to, if you can remember the company he works for.
I will find it very quickly.
Okay. I can't remember the name either. So
meanwhile, I'll talk.
Meanwhile, Lewis, please.
Because I think if Book of Boba Fett maintains the consistency of the Mandalorian, then I think it's going to be incredible. We don't know enough outside of anybody who's read the expanded universe. We don't really know a whole lot about Boba Fett. I know his original origin versus his revamped origin, his revamped canon origin. And so it's going to be interesting what they pull from the expanded universe, the legacy universe. I forget what they call it now. I think it is legacy universe or something like that. Anyways, so it'll be interesting to see because I have seen that they've mentioned things like Davin, the planet of New Dawn, things like that. And those are things from the original canon story as opposed to his current revamped canon story, which is interesting. So, and then Ming-Na Wan,
yeah,
yep, when she died in the Mandalorian, and then I saw her tweeting oh man, I hope they bring me back. There's so many different ways that you could bring my character back. I'm like, you conniving, ooh, you dirty you got me good there. You got me good, you immortal, never aging woman.
I really want to see where they take and develop the character of Fennec Shand. Not enough of her at all in The Mandalorian. I'm really looking forward to that. Greg, do we have information?
Yes. So anybody in the greater New England area that's familiar with any of the Star Wars folks around here, a good friend of ours by the name of Drew Hart moved to California and works for a company called Ironhead Studio. That does specialty props, armor, etc. for TV streaming, movie, etc. And he worked directly on the production for Boba Fett's armor for this show. I've seen the stuff that he's made for himself. He's a fantastic costumer, super talented guy. It's really neat to like somebody that we know that we've all hung out with at cons and done pictures together and stuff, taking that passion for creating costumes and actually turning it into a career. And soon as we start watching this, they're gonna be like, I know the dude that made that.
Also made I think it's a bandolero belt or maybe a regular belt in the Mandalorian for Carl Weathers' character. Can't remember the character name. So he's got history with the franchise, and that awesome, very cool.
Très bien. Très bien.
Très bien. Yes, very cool. And again, I apologize, folks, for the incredible unprofessionalism of me putting eye drops into my eyes. But if I don't, my allergies are so bad right now that I will not be able to read any of the content that we've got. So
he also ripped a fat doobie before he started.
Yeah, right. I've got lots of vices. That ain't one of them. Speaking of vices, Archer. The news here is that Archer has been renewed for a season 13, while they are currently in the middle of season 12. And if you are an Archer fan, then that is fantastic news. It's weird that this article also says, there's no word on how the show will approach the death of cast member Jessica Walter, who plays Mallory. And then it goes on to say that will be addressed in upcoming episodes of this current season. So a little confusing there, but apparently we'll know how that plays out before the season is over.
Probably going to kill her on screen. That's what I'm interpreting from that, is that they're gonna end up killing her.
I would assume so, because it would just be the kind of thing that you would expect them to put Sterling Archer into. Because you kill Mallory and that sets up Archer storylines for the next 3 seasons
easily.
Yeah. Because alternatively, you'd have to replace her with another actress, which is not unheard of. I mean,
not unheard of. Oh man, I mean, we could do an entire show on dream casting for something like that. I'd be hard pressed to think of somebody who could give that kind of iconic performance. She really leaned into that role in a big way.
Yep.
I personally would prefer to find, for them to come up with a creative way to write her off the show. I hope they don't Princess Leia her and try and clip together old footage, old audio clips and do a Tupac hologram sort of deal. Find a way to write her off, because frankly, you're absolutely right. It sets up way more interesting stuff if she dies, especially if they make it something, truly, if she dies in bed with somebody flagrantly and it's caught on videotape, that will just
just make it something good. Don't do like Sopranos, when his mom, the actress that played his mom, prematurely died and they CGI'd her head.
Yeah,
using old. Don't do that. Like, obviously, it's animation, so you can't CGI the head. But the context and spirit of replacing it in such a way to use her voice, even AI generated.
Or they could do the voice right, or do like South Park did with Chef, where once the actor, I can picture him in my head.
Moved on, Isaac Hayes.
Yeah, Isaac Hayes, thank you. Moved on because of their criticism of, I'm just losing it completely. Scientology. Then they just basically took all kinds of clips from all the years he'd been on and made it one of the most awful things that they've ever put on. like roasted him completely using his own voice. Yeah, I can't imagine that Archer would ever do that because there's no reason
No.
to. First off,
They've got a deep respect for Jessica Walter.
right?
I mean, we did a brief blurb on the show the week when she died, and all of the cast members had really heartfelt things to say about her as someone to work with, etc. You go deep into the Arrested Development well and see if Liza Minnelli is up for it.
Ooh, so that's a great one,
sequel?
but no, I'm still very deeply in the camp. Kill her off in the show.
Yeah.
And mind that for all of the potential that that's there.
Yep.
You get a whole another 2 seasons out of that.
Oh yeah, easily.
I mean, I'm gonna miss her. Honestly, I mean, I realize I'm a little bit biased. My wife cosplays Mallory Archer and is infamous for it. And she's such an iconic character. Someone you love to hate or hate to love. I'm not sure which. So I'm gonna miss her, but yeah, I hope that they come up with a suitable send off for the Grand Dam.
I'm sure they will, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, so we're going back to Disney Plus, and that is Diego Luna as Cassian Andor from Rogue One. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, I think is the official title.
Yes.
And the news is that they have finished filming. They've wrapped up filming on his series, Andor, which looks at the character as a spy for the rebellion in the years prior to the all of the activity of Rogue One. And he kind of teases that there are going to be some big surprises, like surprise appearances in this in this show. But then he jokes about how he can't spoil anything because everybody knows, if you've seen Rogue One, you know how his storyline ends. But then doesn't really say anything anyway. Which
it is a prequel.
It is a prequel.
It couldn't really be a sequel.
Yeah,
that would be some severe retconning.
Yeah.
Well, we don't see how we know that the planet gets destroyed, but people get off of planets really fast in Star Wars.
That's true. We do kind of see the heat blast coming toward them, but
But between the heat blast hitting the planet, just like in the first planet that got destroyed, it takes a little bit to destroy a whole planet.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not the case. It's a prequel. He said it. We know it. It's in there. So this is another one I'm looking forward to. Absolutely unknown date, sometime in 2022. We do know that, but when, no idea. We do know that Alan Tudyk will be back as K2SO.
Yep.
Yay. Whew. I always get that one wrong. I don't know why. So, all the jokes, all the snide, can't wait for it. Or I can wait for it because I have to, but I can't wait. So it's all set. So as far as filming goes, apparently all they've got to do is the post-production work, which it's a Star Wars, so it's a Star War.
It's a Star War, yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of post-production.
I'm a Star War.
I'm a Star War.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it because anybody who knows me in Star Wars knows that I'm not a particular fan of Jedi Sith nonsense. I'm more of the rebellion versus the Empire kind of guy. So just like the Mandalorian, the less Jedi you have in it, the happier I am all around.
Yep.
And if they throw in a few blind Jedi temple guards, that's fine.
Yeah. See, he didn't know. See, that's the thing though, is he wasn't a Jedi.
Exactly. He was a temple guard.
You said Jedi, blind Jedi temple guard. He wasn't a Jedi. He didn't.
Yeah, but he was a guard of the Jedi temple.
No. He wasn't a guard of the Jedi temple either. They had a different. Anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, it's not a Jedi temple
guards.
They believe in the Force, just not in the way that the Jedi do or anything like that.
Okay. All right. I will nod to your greater expertise in the area. But yeah, so sometime in 2022, folks, looking forward to it. So next up is for those of you who are very much interested in listening to things,
Greg.
Greg,
We
there's
all
a
have 2 ears, baby. Come on.
everybody's got ears. There's a new audiobook version of Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett's wonderful work, Good Omens, coming out. And this one will, in fact, have these two gentlemen reprising their roles from the Amazon TV series. So you'll get David Tennant as Crowley, Michael Sheen as Aziraphale. Aziraphale. Gotta get those.
That's right.
Yep, got to get those vowels in the right place. And that's huge news, folks. For those of you who are into the audiobook stuff.
I almost thought you messed up his name because you're on the verge of saying David Tennant, and I'm like, what?
Tennant?
Yeah, you
Okay.
because you were
David
the way you
Gandalf.
start.
David
The way you started
Gandalf.
saying David Tennant, you started with a T, and it was weird because it sounded like you were going to say David Tennant, and I'm like, why are you switching the first letters?
Okay. Hopefully I
Those are
didn't do
very
that.
Special eye
No.
drops.
I'm saying you almost did.
Okay.
It sounded you almost. It was funny.
All right. I blame my allergy medicine.
There we go. Well, I don't know if anybody else.
Marijuana.
I don't know if anybody
Sure.
else listens to audiobooks. I spend a lot of time in the car, and I throw audiobooks on when I'm doing work around the house and stuff. Love audiobooks. I'm super looking forward to this. The original audiobook of Good Omens was by a narrator named Martin Jarvis, who was real good. But this is going to be a full cast production. Interesting how sometimes those work better than others. Neil Gaiman's Sandman adaptation for Audible was incredibly good. But the fact that they've got David Tennant or Tennant David or David Tennant, that's his name, right? And Scheichel Mean. Did I get that right?
It's a Bartley Crouch.
Yes. No, now you're going down into Diagon Alley. Anyway, looking forward to it. I threw this on our to-do list because this is an incredible book. It's been done beautifully well. It's going to be a good kind of holdover until the TV series comes on, or the streaming series. Can we even call it TV series anymore?
I
Series.
I mean,
Until the streaming season.
I think it's perfectly fine to call it a TV series. I mean, we still, whenever shit is happening, we still say we're video recording, or let's tape this.
Let's tape this. So according to this article at the bottom, they say that it won't include the entire cast. That other than Tennant and Sheen, most of the cast is different people.
And they said, "Eat it, Greg."
So and then they said, "Eat it, Greg."
That's fine.
Actress and comedian Rebecca Front will be the narrator of the book. Not familiar with her work.
Nor am I. Oh, you know what though? I just did. So I'm just scrolling through here as well, and I noticed there's a woman on here named Adjoa Ando. It's a British actress. She is phenomenal.
Yeah. Why does that sound familiar?
That rings a bell. I
think what she's done live action. I've listened to, what do you call it? I've listened to a ton of books that she's narrated. Hang on, I will find her very quickly. She was in Bridgerton.
Oh, there you go.
She was Lady Danbury. She was in The Witcher.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
And so as
a couple episodes of Doctor Who.
From the teasers, I believe she's in the upcoming Witcher season as well.
Probably, yeah. She was in Broadchurch. If anybody watched that, it was a good show. Yeah, I got to know her from narration. She's a fantastic audiobook narrator, and then started watching her in live action stuff as well. So, if you're at all interested in audiobooks, check out Good Omens. That comes out on it's available from HarperCollins, so it'll be on more than just Audible, November 2nd. And if you like fantastic narrators, Adjoa, excuse me, I mispronounced that. Adjoa Ando is just, she's one of those narrators that I listened to a book I'd read, liked her so much that I looked for other things that she'd narrated that I never would have necessarily bought or listened to.
Very cool. All right,
Right.
so we're moving on to something else that would have the word book and have the word fantastic, just not applied, particularly to this property. If you're any kind of a Star Trek nerd, you probably are aware of the fact that William Shatner wrote a series of cyberpunk novels called TekWar. It was made into TV movies, into a TV series starring Greg Evigan, BJ and the Bear, and Shatner, who of course wrote himself into it. And the news is that apparently there's a company that's going to be making an adult animated, as in, you know, Fox animation kind of stuff, not as in hentai, as far as I know, version of this.
That could only make it better.
That could only make it better. Pure Imagination Studios is working with Shatner, and apparently his company is called Shatner Universe, because of course it is.
Of course.
But it's developed and written by this Matt Michnovitz, who apparently was a writer on 24 and Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So,
All right. Depending on the episodes, yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Though there was a lot of episodes in both of those franchises, so who knows? I had to look this up. Pure Imagination Studios is known for almost nothing, except, and I only knew this because I scrolled by it a bunch of times while going through other stuff to watch on Netflix. The Netflix CGI series, Legend, Monster Hunter: Legends of the Guild, which is currently, well, I mean, it dropped last month, I think. So, you know, it's been available for streaming for a little while. All CG, semi-realistic sort of stuff. They've done some Lego commercials for various Lego movie properties, like, you know, a Lego Batman and so on. But that's pretty much it. So,
Honestly, if you fuck up Legos, then you shouldn't be doing anything.
I don't know that they ever screwed them up. I mean,
No, I'm saying if you fucked up Legos,
well, yeah.
you know.
So to what extent this is going to be anything even remotely worthwhile, who knows? They are talking about trying to turn it into a multimedia experience. So I guess with like interactive elements on mobile, maybe even games, in addition to the animated. Yeah. Anytime anybody says something like that, you can assume that that will not happen. That you will get,
I just call him an asshole.
or you can do that.
Just jump right to the point and just be like, yeah, you're an asshole. Get out. Your reach exceeds your grasp.
Okay, we have a challenge posted on the chat from Luminous. It says, TekWar. I can't think of a worse 1990s sci-fi show than TekWar. Oh, come now.
Oh, all right.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah,
What's it going to be? I would go so far as to put up anything starring John Travolta, written by L. Ron Hubbard.
Not a
He said
show.
sci-fi show.
Not a show.
Not a
All
show.
Right, fine.
In 1990s, that's tough, man, because there wasn't a lot of like straight sci-fi shows.
When did the Cleopatra in the Future series happen?
That was in the Cleopatra 2525. Do not disrespect my Cleopatra 2525. That shit was dope.
Damn.
The actors were dope. That shit was stupid as hell.
Yeah, all of the Hercules was dumb as fuck. So
Well,
was
true.
Xena. Like, come on.
That's true. 100%.
Let's not talk about Jack of all trades, because
All right.
That
So
was
I
just
couldn't think of anything
disrespect.
offhand. So I did a quick search, and man, there are some truly, truly execrable ones out there. I don't remember this one, but I may have to go look this up now. Man and Machine.
Oh,
Called
yeah.
Bobby Mann is teamed with a voluptuous robot partner. I mean,
Oh, no, that's not
that
what I was
log
thinking
line
of.
alone.
Okay, nope, never heard of it.
I remember that. I don't want to, but thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. I mean, come on, Luminous.
Sequest.
Sequest was
Oh,
all right.
Sequest, I loved. Sequest was
Yeah.
awesome.
Sequest was like the water world of fucking Stargate.
Sequest had one of the most wonderfully realized, relatively near future, believable Earths, as far as politics. It was just, I was a big fan. I really liked it. So if you're going to defend Cleopatra 2525 that hard, I'm defending Sequest DSV, man.
Yeah. It also kind of depends on how we're defining the sci-fi here, because like if we're talking about anything like futuristic or kind of futuristic, like Generation X was absolutely terrible.
Generation X, I forgot about that. I still think it was better than TekWar.
What about Animorphs?
Well, yeah.
That was in the 90s.
What was that one with Jessica Alba where she was like a cat person kind of thing?
Dark
Archangel.
Dark Angel.
Yeah.
James Cameron, come on, man, have some respect. Yeah. Dark Angel.
I mean, once you
Way
got to
up
that
there.
episode where she was, the whole episode revolved around her being horny. Like,
Okay. Later seasons got a little bad. Luminous, Cleopatra 2525 is a favorite of mine, and I watched Man and Machine. Yancey Butler, really? Yancey,
isn't she like crazy right now?
well, yeah, or
She went off
was.
the rails, I think.
Maxi Roblox, hola a todos. Hello back at you, and welcome to the show. Feel free to weigh in with any comments.
Hello to all of us.
I assume that's what that meant.
Oh my goodness. So I did not know this. Weird Science was apparently a TV series.
It was.
That was with what was that actress's
Don't
name?
recall ever seeing that.
It wasn't terrible.
She was the same woman from Kingpin, right? In that movie Kingpin with Woody Harrelson.
Yes, I think so. Obviously with a dark wig or dark dyed hair.
Yeah.
Melanie Chardoff. So Melanie. Wow,
Yeah.
88 episodes. Dang.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it
Like,
wasn't bad.
Not terrible.
All right, so Luminous, you've gotten us off on an incredibly long tangent, so we're going to get back to topics here.
Touché.
Great question. Anyway, who knows if this ever happened? They're in the process of making or potentially making this. It's got to be either funded and produced and then have a streaming platform, or it's got to get a streaming platform before any animation is even done. So
hopefully I can petition all social media to create a dislike button just for it.
All right. So this is obviously from Black Widow. This is not the segment where we're going to be talking about Black Widow. It is the segment when we're going to be talking about another Marvel lawsuit. But since we're talking about Marvel lawsuits, I figured I'd just take the one image and use it twice because I'm lazy. So this is a little complicated, folks. So, bear with me. Marvel is suing to try to stop the heirs of some of their creators, and in one case, one actual still living creator, from applying the Copyright Act of 1976 to get Marvel to give up at least part hold or ownership of the copyright of some of the characters they created. This includes the heirs of Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, Don Rico, Don Heck, Gene Colan, if you're an old comic fan like me, and Larry Lieber, who's still around. The law allows heirs to contest sole copyright ownership that somebody else has of product that creators created or had a hand in creating under certain circumstances. And this article does not go into what those circumstances are, but these people have basically brought suit against Marvel to give up some of the copyright.
Good.
If they win, Marvel won't lose copyright. They'll have to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently this is the same law that's been applied already twice in, I can't remember what the first one was, but the Jack Kirby lawsuit. The Jack Kirby suit came days away from reaching the Supreme Court before Marvel settled. So, like I said earlier, there's going to be times when companies really don't want this to go a long, protracted lawsuit. They're going to want to settle. Um, come on, Marvel. Jesus.
Yeah, sue the shit out of Marvel. Everybody sue the shit out of Marvel. Fuck Marvel.
Yeah. They're trying to make a big stink, drown them in paperwork, and get the cost down when they finally give them some pennies on the dollar to go away.
Right.
Never mind how many creators they have screwed over the decades in terms of like their creations and how much money their creations have made, using all types of like unscrupulous like loopholes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, fuck Marvel. And I'll say this because I know somebody will always point this out. Some asshole always points this out. Well, if you don't like Marvel, why do you watch Marvel? I can enjoy Marvel and I can enjoy things that companies produce while still being critical of their actions and policies, and call attention to those actions and policies, and demand that retribution and refund and reparations are given to people who deserve them. So being critical of a company doesn't mean that I can't enjoy some of the product. You can't. It's not a black and white issue.
Yep. I still like the Disney stuff and Disney Marvel stuff and everything. Disney needs to stop stonewalling negotiations with the people that had residual rights that they bought when they bought Star Wars, and they bought Lucasfilm more than decades ago. Alan Dean Foster has not been paid a single dime since then for his book adaptations, which he wrote multiple book adaptations for Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Disney should be absolutely slapped in the face and dragged through the mud for that. And their products are still wonderful to watch. Sure. Those are two things I can do.
On this. The thing that's hard here for me is that I think a lot of people think of like Stan Lee. He was iconic. He was the face. For people that are casual superhero comic book type things, my parents would know who Stan Lee was, at least by name. Very successful. I mean, obviously, towards the end of his life, there was a lot of bad stuff happening, but he's really one of the few examples of somebody who had the business acumen to do well and to make himself a lot of money and be successful. Most of these other creators died pretty damn near penniless after getting screwed over by earlier incarnations of different comic book companies. So it would be good to see some of their family get some of that. Yeah. I think this may be a little bit different though. I know I said a minute ago that it's probably just trying to like drag it out in court so that people, the ultimate price gets lowered. But I can actually see Marvel, Disney absolutely going completely to the mat on this because of the fact that it would be non-exclusive copyright. So Disney would still retain the rights to make Thor movies or Captain America movies. But if they lose this suit, or the plaintiffs win, I should say, they would claw back some of their intellectual property rights.
Right.
Disney does not want anyone else making a Captain America movie that doesn't have the same actors, the writers, the look, the feel, the revenue streams, the merchandising, etc. They don't want their product diluted. That's what it boils down to.
So particularly look at the case of Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko easily is as important a creator of Spider-Man as Stan Lee ever was. Probably more so. If his heirs get the right to this, not only does Marvel no longer have full rights or any rights to make a Spider-Man movie because they sold those to Sony and Sony isn't going to give them up, they would have another rights holder who could then sell the rights to Spider-Man stuff to some other media form without Sony or Marvel being involved at all. They really, really don't want this to happen. As confusing as it might be down the road, I really want it to happen. Share that effing wealth, you idiots.
Yeah. Let them win so that Marvel, Disney can come hat in hand and give them the fattest goddamn settlement that they've ever seen.
Yep.
Because they're gonna have to, because they're not gonna drag it out in court after they lose and do an appeal, or they'll try to do an appeal. but it'll just, in the meantime, you can do whatever you want while that appeal is rolling through. So they're going to come hat in hand and be like, here's a fat settlement, or else we'll try to drag this out in court for 10, 20 years and you won't see a dime.
Yep.
And most people take the settlement. So Disney's going to win, but you
Yep.
rake them through with that money and you get some stock options while you're at it.
Yeah. I mean,
That would be
I agree with Rodney. I would love to see this win in such a way that some portion of the rights to some of these iconic characters got back in the hands of other people who could sell them to other production companies, etc. Do something different with it. I mean, I like Marvel movies. They're great. The whole completely interconnected universe has become so homogenous. I don't find it terribly interesting at this point. And even the small one-offs like Ant-Man, which I really liked because it was just this funny little movie.
Yep.
Didn't take itself very seriously. The stakes were super low. Even that has to get tied into the continuity and the big picture of everything. I'm like, just make cool movies about Captain America throwing his shield at Nazis. Cool. Just do that.
Yes, please. More Nazi bashing. Anyway, so we'll see where this goes.
We know where it goes.
Yeah. Well, so I get it depends on realistically the lawyers and how long the families are willing to put up with this. Ditko's family has been fighting this as long as Kirby has.
True.
So, we'll see. And we'll get a little bit more insight into Marvel's thought processes when it comes to some things about lawsuits in a couple of segments. But next, so the first of our teasers, folks, if you haven't seen it, HBO Max, Warner Brothers dropped a teaser trailer for Peacemaker, their upcoming spinoff coming off of The Suicide Squad, starring John Cena. And yes, that's him. You can see him on the screen there. Mm-hmm. It's funny. It really gives you the tone of what they're going for with the series, which is almost the Tick-like with a lot more swearing. I'm keen on it. I'll be interested to see how they integrate the ultraviolence that is definitely going to be part of it, and whether or not that continues to be funny, or they try to make some statements with it or what. But this little bit, which is basically him just showing up at a meeting with his team, which we saw at the end of the Suicide Squad, that team being created with Steve Agee's character and Diane, anyway, I can't remember her last name. Meeting at a diner, and they're all joking about why he's wearing his costume or uniform, as he calls it, and it's funny stuff. How did you guys like it? Did you think that it's worth paying attention to the series going forward?
I definitely think so. I think it plays very well to John Cena's straight, dry humor that he has.
Yes.
I think it looks like it's going to be funny. At least I can see it doing like a season or two. I don't think it's going to be like a 10-season show or something like that. But I definitely just based on his acting in Suicide Squad plus this little teaser, I think it has a pretty solid shot. I don't know if it's gonna be as funny as how he was in Suicide Squad, only because his banter with Idris Elba was like the best. It was just the best.
And he doesn't have a sort of person to play off, as far as I know, in this story. It's more just him. He does have his team members.
Baldy. Baldy. The eagle. The eagle.
Oh, his eagle. Yes, Baldy. Do you name your dog Doggy? It's not Baldy, it's Eagly.
I thought it was Baldy. No, you're right, though.
It's Eagly. Because then it's like, do you name your dog Doggy?
Daughtery,
exactly. Did you see it, Greg? Any thoughts?
Nope.
Well,
no. Short and sweet.
So
an audiobook.
Looking forward to it. January 2022, so only a few months that we have to wait for it. Steve Agee and Danielle Brooks are two of the people that come over from the Suicide Squad from Waller's group that wind up being his handlers. That's their punishment.
Davis better show up.
There's so many people who better show up in this. All right, moving on. So this was like my Twitter just exploded today with this image and this information. The final character that is being dropped into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is Sora from the Kingdom Hearts game. And then my Twitter really blew up when at the end of this, they announced that the 3 biggest Kingdom Hearts games will be coming to the Switch. Brennan Sofield, hey, back at you. Welcome to the show. Now, they're coming to the Switch via a cloud service, so there you will have to play it with an internet-connected Switch. And you'll have to... all your saves and everything will be in the cloud, not locally. But... Yeah, there's there. But, you know, I don't know any Kingdom Hearts fan in my, certainly, Twitter feed that wasn't absolutely losing their minds over this news. So
I mean, yeah, but like honestly, how far did they dig deep into that news? If they only heard Kingdom Heart game coming to Switch and they missed the part about the internet connection, they're gonna be in for a rude awakening when they try to play that and they got no internet.
That could be true. They could have very well just not paid attention whatsoever to the fact that, because even when I was looking through the story, there were an awful lot of headlines that did not include cloud service or connected service.
Yeah, and that's man, that can a whole lot of words I was trying to say.
That's
but, like,
bad writing.
Cloud services can be interesting, but also if it doesn't function without an internet service, then you're not getting your whole game. So you're paying for a game that you can only pay when something is specifically connected for you to play or enabled for you to play. So if you're like, I'm going to go take it on a road trip and play Kingdom Hearts, good luck. You're not going to be able to do that. You know, you're not going to be able to be on the Amtrak and on the unless they have Wi-Fi or anything like that for you to connect. You're not going to be able to do that. Grandma's house in the sticks, good luck. You're not, unless you have some internet. That's not going to happen. So you're paying for a game that you technically don't really own because you don't have that. It's like having a car that you can only drive when you have gas and just gas. And
yes, this is true. I don't think it's going to be nearly as much of a problem for a lot of people as you indicate it may be. You know, I would assume that you could play this over a hotspot from your phone.
It would depend because number one, you're paying for a data service to do that.
Well, that's true.
And number two, like a big game like that going through a spotty Wi-Fi, it'd probably take forever to connect, unless they download the game fully to the Switch, but then requires an internet connection to authenticate.
Full cloud service.
Yeah, that's going to be
the
rough.
entire thing is fully cloud.
That's what it says in these articles. Yeah.
There
will be. It's not a native port. No native port. You'll have to do it streaming through the cloud.
Yeah, that's rough. I've tested cloud-based gaming several times with Microsoft system, and I forget who was the other one, Nvidia's system, and they were spotty at best.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good connection because I live alone.
That's a lot of real-time information to be transferring. This may be a short experiment.
And I mean, that's true. The version they were showing as a demo was the version running on a PS4. So while it's not next gen console, it's at least last gen or still slightly current gen for most people. So yeah, you're right. This could be just, unless you're actually on a FiOS with an actual Ethernet cable, it might be too much.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, but I don't have any faith in it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I also don't know that that's really the form factor. You want to be playing a game that's that complex and visually rich.
Oh, people love Doom now on Doom Eternal on the Switch, and it's kind of amazing how people love what we would consider incredibly graphically dense games on that screen. So.
I mean, it makes perfect sense for stuff like Animal Crossing, which is small scale, graphically not as dense. It's perfect. It's great for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine playing crossing the streams here, but like a Skyrim or GTA or anything. Not that it's going to happen, but
I think GTA is coming to the Switch.
Yeah.
If I
Is it really?
recall correctly.
Yep.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. Like it's feasible because I mean
And
they
GTA
are
5, right? The most recent one.
yeah
Yeah.
Like they are can be graphically intense, but also the size of the Switch plays a factor in how much the pixel density and all of that is an optimization to the system itself. And these aren't current gen games running off a high end graphics; they're like last gen games. So there is that as well. It's just for me, the stickler is always having an always on connection because games as a service is absolutely ass and does not function for any company in any way, capacity, or anything.
Ask
like that.
anybody who's tried to play Marvel Avengers. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to move on before my eyeballs fall out. So, next topic, you may have recognized, or you may recognize this image from just a few minutes ago. So this is the topic about the lawsuit being settled finally between Disney, Marvel, and Scarlett Johansson over Black Widow profits. The article in Deadline here says that while nobody is obviously going to say how much any money was promised or part of the settlement, and by the way, this was settled. It didn't go to court or arbitration. Their inside sources say that it's in the neighborhood of $40 million that Johansson won out of the settlement.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for her.
And
I knew it was going to happen. I knew she was going to get a settlement out of it.
So one of the they go back and forth about all of the
Shadiness.
toxicity and the garbage, mostly coming out of Disney and Marvel, to be clear. Apparently, and they do cite this as a rumor, apparently both Feige and former Disney CEO Bob Iger came down hard on new CEO Bob Chapek, saying, this is pretty lousy, we're looking crappy about this, get it solved. And then a couple of just days ago, actually, I guess, the supposed court date was moved forward into March 2022 instead of, soon. And within days of that, the settlement was announced. So,
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to court. If she probably would have won more. It just would have taken a lot longer.
Yep.
But she had every right. From everything that I read, obviously I'm not a lawyer to know all the jargon, but from the gist of it, from when I originally posted the article, there was a definitely solid case that she had there. And despite all the misogynists being assholes about her and her payday, she deserved it.
Right. Apparently the courts came down pretty hard on these guys too, on Disney. And if you're interested in it, the Deadline article has at the end a wonderful write-up of the lawyers. So these are the same lawyers that Emily Deschanel and David Boreanaz from the Fox series Bones used to go up against Fox and Disney after Disney bought Fox because they got the lawsuit. And beat the exact same Disney lawyers, in this case, to the tune of $128 million. Nice. So whoever these lawyers are, if you're ever in a situation where you need to go up against Disney, apparently these are the guys. So
go with the pros.
Go with the pros.
You have nowhere to turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love seeing it. I'm glad that they worked it out. It would have been ugly if it had gone to court. I've read so many of these anodyne press statements. I'm happy we resolved our differences. I'm proud of the work we've done together. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, Rodney, you've worked in journalism. You know what the PR machine is like, but It's never anything other than entertaining to watch just how completely devoid of anything like real anything.
Yeah. And then they sure did head Emma Stone off at the pass too.
that goes into that quite deeply here as well.
Yeah.
That, they realized that that might be a problem, and that sequel for Cruella was announced real fast.
As a Puerto Rican, I understand how dominoes fall.
But
Hi-oh.
all right, so yay! Apparently, according to the as Greg puts it, sort of the anodyne, glad-handing garbage announcements on the Disney side, Scarlett Johansson is involved in the upcoming Tower of Terror movie, because that's just like, we're looking forward to working with her, including in Tower of Terror. And like,
yeah,
okay,
where she plays a
Don't
black woman
recall
named Sophia.
seeing anything about that.
neither did I. So I think they just kind of dropped a little bit of news there.
Being the operative word.
Dropped, yeah. All right, folks. Moving on to our last story. That was not our last story, even though it was the thumbnail story. Our last story was a bit of news that dropped after I had created the thumbnails. That right there is, of course, the Iron Throne. That is the Iron Throne as it will appear in the upcoming House of the Dragon, the prequel series from Game of Thrones, or about Game of Thrones, set in Westeros. And I chose this particular image among those two images I'm going to put up there because they clearly decided to take the more book description of the Iron Throne as this massive pile of swords and marry it into the look of the later version, where it's stairs going up to a throne that you can sit on. And kudos to the designers for doing this. I think that's a great look. But the news is the first teaser for this is finally dropped. We get to see some images, including that, and this one, which yay for representation. This is, according to the sigil on this guy's neck, this is the House Velaryon, one of the houses like the Targaryens that came over from Valyria into Westeros. And it's not described. They're kind of hardly mentioned in the book, even though the house still exists in the A Song of Ice and Fire cycle. But they're obviously much bigger players in this period 200 years prior, because that's Corlys Velaryon, Velar. It's going to be tough how they pronounce this. With the mutton chops and the sigil, and that's his wife Rhaenys, who's known as the Queen That Never Was. That's a Targaryen. And they are clearly going to play a really big role in this upcoming series, and yes, good on them. Love the look. Absolutely love the look.
Pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing Dr. Targaryen.
Targaryen the 11th.
Yeah, it looks stellar. I think because it's, as we see more and more stuff, I'm actually getting more excited about this. I think it's got a lot of expectations, but it doesn't have the same weight of its own expectations that Game of Thrones did when that was on. After the first couple seasons, when that became a runaway hit, especially as they got further and further away from, from the source material, from Martin's source material, it got, it's a victim of its own success in a lot of ways. They got to make money on this. This looks like an incredibly expensive production, but I don't think you're going to get the same kind of, weight of expectations. I think it's potentially got a little bit more room to breathe and do some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, Dave and Buster, or Benioff and Weiss, set the bar so low with those last two seasons of actual Game of Thrones on HBO that how can you not just go, oh, well, we'll see where they'll go. And if it's anything of quality, it's just going to be mind-blowing.
Right at the top.
Yep. I really like this footage. I like there's a scene with a very traditional looking joust, which is nice because it's even a little bit more sort of fancy and traditional looking than the ones we saw in Game of Thrones, which from a story standpoint makes sense. The Targaryens were way fancier than Robert and the Baratheons. The Baratheons jousts look like, roughnecks and, like tractor pull with armor. And this looks a lot more like high medieval jousting. So I like that. It's a nice touch.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That's true of a lot of fantasy epic stuff across all media. How stage fighty everything is. Real sword fights are short, brutal, ugly things that usually, if you're armored, you're not usually losing your head or losing an arm. Somebody's bashing you so hard that you bleed internally and you die of sepsis. Not to get super graphic, but it would be interesting to see something that tries for a little bit more of that sort of grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Not a ton, a little bit. I mean, it's still going to feature a lot of dragons, so.
Yes, that is the point. The voiceover narration by Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen says that, that gods, kings, fire and blood, none of it really matters to their power. Their power is dragons. And it's like, yep, that's true. So yeah,
sometime superiority. It was true then, it's true now.
Exactly. Unless, of course, you've got ships that can fire giant crossbows like Sleestacks. Anyway.
I mean, they had a lot of ships that could fire those. It's the dragons with horse blinders that was a problem.
Exactly. Oh no, I can't see that fleet that is completely spread out in front of me over the entire ocean. Anyway, sometime in 2022, folks, when we get to see this, unspecified, but I'm hoping, like a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff, it's going to be summertime, so we don't have to wait until like the end of the year. And that's it. That is our show for tonight, folks. I believe Greg has a could we, which relates to a previous story. Greg,
I'm glad you triggered the memory on that one because I would have forgotten. So my could we please for the week is if you've read the news article, the blurb that Jeff Bezos is footing the bill to put Bill Shatner on one of his rockets and send him to space, the edge of the stratosphere, as it were. Could we please disable navigation so that it doesn't go into close orbit? It just keeps heading out like Voyager, and let him boldly go where no Shatner has gone before.
It'd be a hell of a send-off.
Yeah, it would.
Lewis, do you have a could we please or could we not?
Could we please continue to not tolerate people who are incredibly racist, and to use a very specific example here? If you have a neighbor who wires their house to use motion sensors to make monkey noises and call your black neighbors, the N-word, and the cops say they can't do anything, then you as a society should be willing to step in and do something about this.
I'm sure there's an article there that people can look up and read. I don't know that we want to go into details, but here.
I gave enough information that people can look it up on their own.
Exactly.
So, it's not something
I'm going to just do a sort of a could we, I'm not sure if it's a please or not, because something I forgot. Let's say, could we please all enjoy Black Widow this this tomorrow, October 6th. It drops on Disney Plus with no premium pay. So anybody who has a Disney Plus subscription, it's there for you to watch.
That'll be me.
There you go. And Lumina says, good night all. TekWar lives. Good luck with that, Luminous. Please do check us out on Patreon if you get a chance. Patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Just 3 tiers. We're really looking to just get basically help for coming to cons, going to cons. getting coverage at cons, providing you with more stuff to see from the cons that we love to go to. And speaking of cons, as Greg has mentioned, if you're going to be at New York Comic Con this Friday, 2 p.m. up at Cosplay Central, our cosplay and photography shootout. This has absolutely nothing to do with Squid Game, just to make sure that the name is clear. It's a wonderful event if you're a photographer and or a cosplayer. We are limiting it to 10 teams. So please do show up early and ask for a sign up if we're already up there and getting set up.
Who are our judges for that?
Our judges are, thank you for asking, that guy, the guy who came up with the whole concept.
Hey-o.
Greg Snyder, Wonderlama Photography. The fantastic Alex Valderrama Photos. The wonderful Spectra V3, one of the best foam masters, best cosplayers, award-winning cosplayer, and the other wonderful award-winning cosplayer, often on our shows, Anime Octane or Full Fat Spoiler Chat, Christina Chocobobot. Those are your judges right there.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. And Thursday, we'll be talking about Star Wars Visions in Full Fat Spoiler Chat. If you haven't seen it, it's 9 episodes. They run in length from 13 to 22 minutes. Pretty easy to blast through the whole thing. I highly recommend you go see it. Or go see it. Stay in and see it on Disney+. If you like anime at all, if you like Star Wars at all, you're probably going to like at least some of these shows, if not all of them. That said, we'll see you at an upcoming show. Please, everybody, stay safe if you are going out to cons or going out anywhere. Wear the mask. Follow the rules. Yada, yada, yada. And, Greg, give us a goodbye.
And everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully see you in New York this weekend. I'll be running the panel on Friday afternoon. I'll be outside in Photography Alley on Saturday. If you want to come by, get some photos, they'll be up on the website pretty soon.
Lewis.
Hey everyone, it's fantastic that you guys were in the chat tonight. We enjoyed the engagement. We look forward to seeing you next week and the week after and every other time we have our show. So by all means, this is Louis Carrera, Crash the Stampede. Come check us out.
Crash. And thank you all for joining us.